to the final day of week 1 here in the LEC 2024 Winter Split. Hello, Pat. Nice to see you. It's pretty cold out there, so I think they'll be very excited to get inside. My name is Shocked, and first we're gonna watch the new BDS video.
What's the point of wearing boxing gloves if you're gonna kick him in the face anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why he won.
Oh, love it.
Dirty tactics?
Dirty tactics indeed.
Jungle Cup.
We've seen a lot of that actually in the LEC. Hello, my name is Shocked, and I'm joined by Broxa for the 3rd day in a row. Finn's come back as well. It's the first time we see Goldborg this year, so I hope you all give him a warm welcome. Welcome back, GV.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's been kind of cringe watching from home. Just been missing it a lot, so good to be back in a new studio.
Yeah, Finn, did you enjoy your rest day?
It was very nice. Was there a lot of pauses yesterday, but I think you guys powered it through like a champ. It was very
You were telling
enjoyable to
me
watch.
you were at home and you were like, oh, I'm so happy I'm not there
very
right now.
nice. I was watching the games, just having a great time until the Rogue Heretics game came on. But it was time to sleep after that.
It was bedtime anyway. Broxa, it's been crazy, right, in the studio so far?
Yeah, it's been a blast. Like the arena has been nuts. Kind of reminds me of, big Fnatic G2 matches from back in the day in huge stadiums now. It's less people, but the energy is about the same.
It is. Now, I think there are literally some bets to settle between some of you that we had the last couple of months. So I want to take a look at the ones you did in the past.
Right.
I'll be humble, I'll be gentle, and I'll be very generous. That should be enough.
God.
Bottoms up, as we say in the Scandinavian countries. Skål!
Is this what you want? Production told me to smile at the camera. Sorry, I looked away.
Skål!
He did it so fast.
Delicious, man.
So Broxa said Vitality, I said BDS, and well, look what we got here. I like to be a betting man. Last time I drank out of Finshu. This time around, I feel like I'm finally reaping the rewards.
I have no words. I don't know what I've gotten myself into, but
Honestly, thank you.
You won. Congrats. I'll take it.
Thank you.
Adam, bravo.
I dare say that it's you 3 who just love the bets. You love them.
I mean,
crazy.
I love dragging them into it.
It's crazy, there was 2 clowns on my screen there.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It looked like only one at first. But
It was insane.
You might have thought the clown makeup was bad, but I guarantee you drinking out of his shoe was worse.
No, for sure.
it
Like
was a full
I
game
swear.
issue as well.
Yes.
All the clown photos I've seen from that are really cursed, but that was kind of disgusting. I'm not gonna
I
It
don't
lie.
know
must
why we
be.
didn't pick a fresh shoe.
So what do you think? Should we go for another rodeo?
I mean, that's what I wanted with these
Okay.
guys.
What do you want to bet and for what?
So basically this time around, I didn't really know what we could bet around. Last time I made a bet,
That's for
I was just
predictions,
sitting
right?
Yeah, so this time we're just doing prediction. Last time I was in a bar with Finn chilling, and that was kind of what happened. Now it's the follow-up where we're just doing predictions going into today. And luckily, we all have different predictions in at least one aspect going into today.
Okay, what's the tiebreaker if there's only one person makes one wrong prediction or the other makes... We'll figure it out, but we
How
do
about
need your
you
help.
pick?
I'll pick. You already know you lost. Anyways, at home, can you send us in your suggestions for what the stakes should be here? You can send them over on X, and we'll choose... We wanted to say the one that's most liked, but I think we'll
I'm
just
not
choose
going
the one
bold.
that's... You don't want to lose your
The
hair
most
today.
savory.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's take a look. But ahead of the split start, we've also asked our pros about their opinions on the new patch and the new meta. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I mean, I believe there's a lot of new picks that are coming back compared to last year where the meta was kind of the same the entire year, so it was a bit boring. But now, like, the new meta changes, like, you can see some new champions as well, like, for example, Hui, with like a completely different kit than what League players are used to. And especially the map changes as well, a lot of new changes that bring, some kind of new to the league.
Well, with the addition of grabs and the map changes, I think it's going to change a little bit. Top lane meta is changing with the fact that Herald is not there at 8 minutes, grabs being there at 5 minutes, maybe 9 minutes, and then Herald at 14. And the map changes, I feel like, will encourage more team fighting around neutral objectives because, for example, at the Drake, the river is a lot more narrow than before. There's a lot more entry points in river where you can flank from. And before, I felt like there was this meta where if the enemy team is there first and they're starting the objective, it's almost impossible to retake as the contesting team. But right now I feel like with how narrow the corridor is around Drake, if you're the team that starts the objective, I feel like you're the one at a disadvantage. It's a lot easier for the contesting team to retake the area and look for flanks. So it might be an interesting shake-up
mean, from scrims, I think games are way more explosive, but that could also just be scrims and the people just try stuff. I just hope that the meta isn't boring one with like Corki, Azir, like full scaling again. I just hope that this new meta makes room for like, I don't know, the Graves jungle, the Galliumits and whatnot, like the diving, because I think diving is easier on some sides of the map. And I think the Void Grubs help for the snowballing effect as well. So I think early game will be way more important than before, yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to be a bit more fiesta because every team hasn't gotten used to the map. Like, there's going to be a lot of small little things that players won't have gotten used to with the new map. And for me, the meta, like pro players have tried to figure out the meta on this by themselves for like a month now, playing like in houses and on the tournament realm. But the thing is, pro players don't really experiment a lot, and it's impossible to test out all the builds. So I think once the meta hits like solo queue servers, there's going to be some random OTP that figures out a new build that's completely OP on this champion, and it might change the whole meta. So I think the meta will be very, very open, and there will be a lot of like new random picks coming in that the pros just haven't figured out yet is good.
I think the meta stays kind of similar with the champs. It doesn't change that much because the champions are just too good, but there will be a lot of macro changes in the game. New objectives to play for.
Oh, he looks stressed. He's like, what am I going to play? Hopefully not Lucian, right, Goldberg?
Okay, so I just want to say I got kind of thrown under the bus by Marcus in production because he's like, GB's so triggered. At least that's what it says in the
That's what it says.
But
so you're saying you don't have your opinions, people give them to you?
I do have him, but he likes to over-exaggerate them. Okay. That's kind of where I'm going at. But I also feel like there probably is good reason to over-exaggerate Lucian right now, because I think a lot of people's quite already tired of seeing it. It's the old EU Lucian back at it again, where we keep picking it, and it never works. You can even see it from the stats here, and it's not always just stats. You also take a look at it in-game. It does not leave the impact that you want out of an AD carry that you might have gotten from Avaris or Felios that we have seen.
But we have two pro players here. So when you hear us say, and when you see that, you know, this happens very often with top laners as well, with junglers not so often actually, but like, why do they keep picking this? They keep losing with this, but you still do. What's the philosophy behind it?
I just feel like Lucian as a champion requires a lot more smart drafting than other AD carries, because when you pick Lucian, you always opt into a range support, which is a Nami or a Emilio. And when you have a range support, your comp becomes a bit harder to play, because suddenly your support just can't brute force his way into any area and just engage. So you really have to make sure when you draft these Lucian lanes, you have more support from the jungle and top to actually be able to phase check these areas, which I don't think people are always as crisp on.
That makes sense. It's the same for Kalista?
Yeah, I think Kalista is really the same story as Lucian. And the funny part is that they've both been picked 5 times. Kalista has also been banned 5, has presence in every single game we've seen so far. And even though a lot of the teams seem to think she's really strong, every time she's locked in, she's about as useful as a hardstock silver player locking in Yasuo. I don't know what's happening. They definitely need to figure out how to snowball, how to progress the early game if this is the meta we're going to continue playing.
Okay, I like the graphic also behind
I almost disagree there, because I feel like Kalista as a champion, she's always been this high execution, high reward champion. So whenever teams like G2 with Hansama, or historically like really strong AD carries picked it and fought around it, it would be very, very good. But when the lower teams picked it, it would always be a disaster because they would mess up the early game and then they have no scaling to rely on. And with the new season coming in, it's very chaotic and people aren't as crisp in their plays anymore. So I feel like when you pick Kalista, you really need to have that discipline and good game understanding to close out the game. So I don't think we're seeing that right now from the teams.
One last reply.
Which is exactly my point. High execution, hard to play. Look at the gameplay we've seen so far. Look at a team like G2, who has also made a lot of mistakes, but they realize they're not on point. They're not that great compared to where they were last year, so they just lock in Aphelios, Renata, scale for late game, and just play the easy stuff. And I think, sure, maybe later in the year we're going to reach this level, but now we're just not there.
Okay, I love it. I hope we see this dynamic the whole day. But now to prepare us for the opening game of the day, Laura standing by with Vitality's Pat.
Thank you so much, Shox and Pad. Thank you so much for joining me for the first interview of the season. There's a lot we need to talk about, especially the off-season you had. You, Mac, leaving Mad Lions, leaving a project that represented both of you, honestly. And I'm happy that you stayed as a pair, joining another coaching staff. But tell me about the off-season, because we heard in the documentary from Casey that you might have joined them, but you went to Vitality instead.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this was probably the wildest off-season I've ever had, because we got thrown into the mix after most teams were settled, because we we were let know, I think, 2 days after our Worlds run ended. So by that time, we got back and we were like, hey, does anyone need like coaches maybe? And initially it was literally only K-Corp, and then potentially there was some interest from BDS, but we didn't actually have any follow-up with BDS. So yeah, we were talking with K-Corp initially.
And it was important that you stay with Mac, and why?
So I think for me it was so important for me to stay with Mac because he just had his firstborn, and we have been a coaching duo now for 3 years, going into the 4th, and I couldn't imagine myself leaving him with a newborn and no team or in a different environment without me having his back or him having mine.
And you're a duo in the end. Congratulations to him once again, and looking forward to having back in the studio soon, of course. But I want to talk about the Vitality project. What did you think it made sense for you guys? And tell me about the bunch of players that you have, because bot lane being really explosive, VTO, we know that there's potential. We're still waiting for him to exploit it. Douglas is quite new. There's some members thing from last year as well. Tell me about the whole thing.
So I think choosing the Vitality once they jumped into the race, because they were sort of out initially, like we didn't actually know, like they weren't actually initially looking until we came on the market. But what really spoke out to us was like just the values of Vitality and having our initial meetings with Neo, because I think all of the teams we talked to in the off-season, their first question was, is the baby going to be a problem? Except Vitality, because Neo is a dad, he has a kid, and he was like, you know what, don't worry about it, you're having your firstborn, even though it's late in the off-season, we will make this work. And I think that paired with the flexibility we had to build the roster, like now, and expanding on our coaching staff in the future, I think it just made us feel really sure that we can go in and do our thing.
A few words on what happened yesterday and the day before, and you think it's going to be better today against BDS?
Yeah, I think day one loss was completely fine. Like losing a game that was won is okay. Like I don't mind losing games where we play League of Legends. I hate losing games where we are not playing. And I think yesterday Fnatic just outmaneuvered us. They played the map a lot better. And losing like that is a valuable lesson in macro. So we'll take that and we'll show off today.
We'll see if you guys can end the week on a W. Pat, thank you so much for the interview and all these insights. And Shox, back to you.
Thank you so much. Oh, what a wonderful human all around, but a lot of good insight into Vitality as well. Finn, Vitality is left wanting so far in this season. What is it? It doesn't really feel like they have found themselves as a team yet.
I mean, for me, what I've seen watching Vitality's games is that usually there's a lot of action on the bot lane early game, and I feel like at least these last 2 games, they haven't really come out on top. There was the dive against by GX, and then yesterday against Fnatic, there was just action. And I felt like the trio of Karsi, Zaglas, and Hylissang has not been working as well as they should. I think this trio really needs to gel, because I think that's going to be Vitality's main weapon moving forward, this Karsi-Hylissang duo that's worked so well in the past. And we're really going to need to see the communication improve there, so they think the same way.
Okay, and GB, talk to me about BDS then. I feel like even though they did get 1 win and there was like some hero play from Adam as well, it wasn't perfect yet from them either.
No, absolutely not. But I think BDS has actually surprised me positively going into this in the beginning. I think against G2, they could have won it if they didn't overload bot side and lost that Baron. And even that game yesterday, which they of course won, they still showed good signs despite having a draft that was maybe hard to play into the team comp of GX, but they made it work. So I've been impressed with them so far.
Okay, let's see what happens. Quick prediction, Vitality or BDS?
I put BDS.
Vitality.
Okay, nice. The predictions, they're already going. Let's head over to our casters.